We are witnessing is shameful, unpatriotic, and above all, it is unlawful.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, the district's police force will assist U.S. Capitol Police in regaining control of the Capitol so the certification of the Electoral College results can resume. President-elect Joe Biden spoke in Delaware after seeing the chaos at the Capitol. He said that U.S. democracy was under an unprecedented assault, and he called on President Trump to urge his supporters to leave. A short time later, in a video posted to Twitter, the president called for peace and told the protesters to go home, but he again repeated his claim, which has been disproven multiple times, that the election was stolen. An investigation in Florida into accusations of line cutting to get the coronavirus vaccine.
The Florida governor's office says it's looking into reports that vaccines were administered at a high-end nursing home in West Palm Beach to wealthy donors and members of a country club. The nursing home and assisted living facility are operated by the nonprofit Morse Life Health System. The reports in the New York Post and Washington Post say the vaccinations were organized by Morse Life CEO Keith Myers and a developer named David Mack, who serves on several of the company's boards and on the board of Palm Beach Country Club. A spokesman for the Mack family says they've done nothing wrong. Chris Foster, Fox News.
There are reports of at least 29 people developing severe allergic reactions.
If you're a parent, chances are you know all about the Spooky Truth books, with subjects ranging from shadowy fraternal organizations to mind-controlling TV shows. Kids can't get enough of this series of short, scary children's novels.
And Spooky Truth author K.L. Graves is joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now, my kids just love these books. In just 4 years, you've put out 25 books. It came from Tower 7, Curse of the Chemtrails, The Zionist Who Cried Holocaust.
Now, this stuff has really been catching on. Over 40 million copies sold, so many bestsellers out there.
I've been thrilled. Before this series, I was self-publishing pamphlets and handing them out on the train. Now I get emails from teachers and parents all the time telling me that my books are all their kids can talk about.
Oh, well, it's true. My son used to hate to read. Now he's holed up in the basement with these Spooky Truth books all day and night. Says he never watches TV, doesn't even want tap water anymore. He just loves reading so much.
This is the Onion News Network.
Sources within the Vatican confirmed Tuesday that Pope Benedict XVI has dispatched an elite team of 6 bishops to sabotage leading contraceptive manufacturer Pfizer. Codenamed Conclave 6, the highly trained team of bishops will reportedly infiltrate the heavily guarded compound, detonate extremely powerful charges at key points within the factory, and then escape to a nearby safe house.
The Catholic Church can trust only the best with defending God's plan. Conclave 6 is the deadliest team of bishops I've ever laid eyes on.
The Pope denied rumors that a B team of needle-wielding priests had been deployed to a latex factory in New Jersey to poke tiny holes into thousands of Durex condoms. Locally, the best part of a gay 12-year-old's day is the half hour he spends eating lunch alone in a stairwell. Calling it his only respite from constant ridicule and mockery, 7th grader Ben McElroy says life doesn't get better than the moments he spends quietly laying out his lunch on a secluded staircase while the rest of his classmates are in the cafeteria.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. Open phones as always. Our number is 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Aria.
603-283-6160. Maybe you have an opinion about what happened in Washington, D.C. today.
People seem to.
Now, I wanted to actually, before everything went down in D.C., and we're going to talk about it, we got Vincent going to join us here in just a moment, because he's been watching it like a hawk all day long, so he knows really what's been transpiring. But it was actually Vincent's show, which is Questioning Authority over on the Shire Free Media channel on DLive. That's dlive.tv/Shire Free Media. He just changed his channel name, so some people were a little confused about that, but that's where you'll find him now. You were playing on Monday night, Vincent, and welcome back to Free Talk Live. You were playing Monday night some videos of some right-wingers who were like trampling on and wanting to burn the thin blue line flags. And I thought, you know what, that's interesting.
It's a good development.
And I had a couple of other listeners say, hey, you know, you guys might want to talk about this. So it was actually my intention to discuss that tonight. And then those, you know, that same group of protesters, I mean, maybe not the exact same group, but relatively similar people, apparently stormed the Capitol building today. So, Vincent, take us back a few days to what happened with the Thin Blue Line supporters turning against the police. What happened there? And then, take us to today and what happened in D.C.
So what happened, and that incident took place in Salem, Oregon, and it was some sort of anti-lockdown, pro-Trump rally. Proud Boy types, MAGA, Patriots. It's a whole collection of different people, usually centered around like different media personalities, and they arrived and Antifa arrived, and usually they would, like in previous instances, they'd be able to duke it out and fight with non-lethal weapons, and it provided excellent content, and it got it out of her systems. But this time, the police separated the, I'll just call them the MAGA people. So they separated the MAGA people from Antifa, but then the police would let Antifa with firearms and paintball weapons, it looked like, go through the line and intimidate them. And they got upset and were demanding that the police arrest Antifa, and they refused. And then they started shooting pepper balls and gassing them.
Hold on. They shot pepper balls, meaning the police shot pepper balls and gassed the MAGA people?
Yes.
Okay.
And the MAGA people, some of them, right? It's been a long time coming, but it's taken long enough where these people fight, and a lot of them are big police supporters. They have family in law enforcement or just some sort of fascination with law enforcement. And they call it's like the Thin Blue Line, right? It's these gray American flags with one blue line. It's for, support for police and, the whole defund the police thing going on. They've been given a lot of renewed strength and effort. And
I bet they want to defund the police now.
Say again?
I said, I bet they want to defund the police now.
Well, some of them are still stubborn, but a lot of them are starting to finally, see the light and get out of this battered house citizen syndrome. And so they dragged a Thin Blue Line flag on the ground. They invited people to stomp on it. One woman, at least in the footage that I saw, one woman ran up and was, saying it was trying to dissuade them, but they shouted her down.
Nice.
And and it's a growing trend where a lot of these people who used to cheer the police every time they saw police at a rally, they'd give them high fives and thank them, even if they were arresting them or intimidating them. It's really disgusting. It's hard to watch. And now they're screaming F the police, for yelling at the cops. And today in D.C., some of them were in fact brawling with the police.
Yeah, I saw some of that footage. You're in the local Keene chat Telegram here because you've spent quite a many years here in Keene, and you're hanging out with us in there. You've been just watching this thing closely today and picking up a variety of different pieces of footage of these protesters breaching the Capitol building and actually, indoors and outdoors, getting into fights with the police. Many of these people would have been waving the police Thin Blue Line flag just, days before, and now things all of a sudden are turning on a dime, which is very interesting.
Oh, and I'm glad you bring that up, because a lot of the things that these people shout at the police, whether they're boomers or, young people or Gen Zers, whatever, they would say, I used to support you guys. For years. I supported you guys. For months, I was marching to, support you guys. And it's like they say it as if it's like been a personal betrayal.
Right.
Well, to them, it sort of has. I mean, we saw the same thing when Trump came to power. The Democrats were really upset because it never occurred to them that all of that power could be used against them, all that power that they had been concentrating. And we see the same thing with police now. It never occurred to these MAGA people that the police could use that power against them.
Well, and I would figure the reason for that is because, as you mentioned, Vincent, some of these folks have this sort of obsession with the police. They're fascinated by them, by the violence, by the so-called law and order. A lot of the conservative right-wingers love to, trot out the law and order mentality. They support candidates that talk about law and order, even though, of course, the Democrats say the same crap about law and order. But for whatever reason, the Republicans get more, excited about it. And so they believed that they were in favor of law and order. And when it turns out that the law has turned against them in order to keep so-called order, well, now law and order doesn't seem so good anymore, and the police are now their enemy.
Well, law and order can't mean anything, right? Because these people want Pence to be, just throw the Constitution out the window and say, no, Trump is still president. So, I mean, law and order, it can't matter to them anymore.
Whether they've made that connection or not, I don't know. But nonetheless, it's a good start to have them be changing their minds in the streets about the police and the
They're
situation.
not the only ones changing their minds, though. What I'm hearing from leftists is that, they kind of wish these protesters had been shot.
Oh, that's not a surprise.
Absolutely. I'm glad you bring that up. Yeah, they're
suddenly the left supports the police.
If we'll remember back to when Trump was inaugurated, there were riots. There's been, riots all along. And you have, was it Chris Cuomo on CNN said, since when do protests have to be quiet and peaceful? And so for 4 years, we have we have leftist leniency on that. And then now I saw on Twitter, people are saying, oh, this is a coup attempt, saying all these people need to be tried for treason, saying that, the girl who tried to climb, the girl who got shot in the neck deserved to get shot, like all of them. The pendulum has swinged back very hard.
And very quickly. I mean, just a few weeks ago, the Republicans were saying what the Democrats are saying now, and the Democrats were saying what the Republicans are saying now. And none of them are capable of acknowledging the hypocrisy
of both sides, of their own side. They can see it clearly in the other side, but they can't see it on their own side. Now, you said a woman was shot today. I heard rumors she has died. Do you know if that's true?
I haven't seen anywhere official saying that she's died, but I haven't seen any. We haven't seen much of anything at all after that. I did see the video. I did see video of it recently. It was pretty gruesome. The police. So she got shot, and people, the police were giving her emergency first aid.
What were the circumstances around her getting shot?
Yeah, is it clear who shot her?
Yes. It was indeed the police that shot her.
Wow.
But she was trying to climb through a window. It's a big building, right? So inside, whatever our Masonic architecture.
Yeah, there's internal windows.
And an internal window, yeah.
Right.
And
so she was just trying to climb through to get away from the police or to get to the police?
Well, I wouldn't say to get to the police specifically, right? I mean, I'm sure they didn't want the police there. This was, people see this as...
Well, when I say to the police, I guess I should have said, was she trying to move toward the police?
Yes, she was, yes.
Yeah.
The police happened to be in her way, yes.
Okay.
So let's...
And they decided to shoot her.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. I want to go back just a little bit. Why were all these people in D.C. today in the first place? What was the reason for it?
Oh, I'm very glad you asked that, Ian, because Donald Trump called for them to be here.
All right, stand by. You've got time to talk about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Vincent is with us here. He's the host of... Are you still calling your show Questioning Authority? You just changed the channel name?
NPR.
NPR. Hold on. We'll find out more about that here in just a moment. This is Free Talk Live. If you want to join us, 603-283-6160. You want to share what you observed today, especially if you were in D.C.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. Ian and Aria in the studio. Our number is 603-283-6160. You can bring up anything that you want here, though. We are talking with Vincent, who is a former Free Talk Live, and sometimes still, Free Talk Live co-host. He just moved out of the Keene area, so we don't get to hear from him as often. But when I heard about what was going on down in D.C. today, I was hearing a lot about it from Vincent. He was sitting there just consuming as much of this media as he possibly could. So I've been busy all day, and I figured, you know what better way to talk about this than to have Vincent on. He's been following the situation for quite a while with the right-wing and left-wing protests. He's been covering it a lot on his show, which, Vincent, you said you changed the name of Questioning Authority?
Well, so QA is still happening on Saturdays on LRN.FM.
Okay.
At the Saturday slot. It's just my new endeavor. I wanted to move away, and I'll be getting into that and giving the reasons. I was originally going to rename it to the America First War Room, but I figured I'd attract the wrong kind of audience. I'm going to reveal the new name on my show tonight.
Oh, okay. Because you said NPR, I wasn't sure what that was about.
I'll say why I changed it, because the initials were QA, and I was tired of being associated with QAnon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just constant. I said, you know what? Yeah, I don't need this kind of audience and confusion, so I changed it.
So, and this QAnon's like this cult thing that people have been involved in for the last 4 years, and all of a sudden, whoever it is behind that account has just completely gone away, right? Or have they posted since Trump lost the election?
No, not well. Yes, technically, they haven't posted since December 8th last night, and I checked today too, because I always figure anytime something big happens, right? I think, so what does QAnon have to say? And, there's nothing to say.
And this is an account that was fairly active previously, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the last thing that they tweeted out was a message of encouragement. Hold the line, and while they
What a
got away.
strange thing. Just to take a side on this for a moment. I mean, we haven't talked in detail about the QAnon thing, but it is an interesting kind of phenomenon where people seem to be like seriously cult level followers of
they are believers for sure
of this QAnon thing, and it started, as I understand it, as this predictor of what Trump was supposed to be doing, and supposedly it was someone inside the White House or inside Trump's inner circle, but they made all kinds of predictions, and I'm sure the supermajority of them didn't come true.
I think it's been thoroughly exposed at this point as a psyop to get a certain portion of a political electorate who otherwise wouldn't be demanding martial law, to get them to see martial law as a good thing. And what the QAnon people call the Great Awakening very well could be, in fact, the right-wing version, or what they're selling it to right-wingers as the Great Reset.
The Great Reset.
Yeah. So it's dualism, right? They do that a lot. It's a two-party duopoly, right? Two-party, two sides, so they have two different solutions.
Yeah, and it's.
I think it's more likely it was just some troll who was bored.
But it's curious that they would not continue even after Trump loses the election. Like, I mean, this thing has to have, I don't know how many followers it has, but it's quite a few. I mean, there literally are people who follow it as like a family, and they believe everything that it says. They wear Q-related garb and clothing, and they have jargon. I mean, they seriously, it meets so many different qualifications of a cult. And why would you if you were in charge of this cult of all these people that will literally follow your every word, why would you just let that dissipate?
The longer you play a joke, the higher your chances of getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already, the QAnon and the hashtags and all of that, they've been getting banned from Twitter and Facebook and all these other places. So, I mean, if it was someone joking, then the joke had certainly run its course by the end of the Trump administration. Or by the end of
but why throw away all the followers? I mean, if you've got millions of followers or whatever, he's got hundreds of thousands.
What's he going to do? Be like, hey, by the way, I was just messing with you. Come follow my real account on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. He would probably still get a ton.
They would hang him.
I don't know.
Well, that's what they call the dualist interpretation of things. The the Watsonian, or within there's nothing saying that Q has gone away entirely. Also, I mean, within their canon, right, within their catechism, where going dark, which means where you just don't hear from them for a while, means that something big is happening, right? And it's like an inversion where, because nothing is happening, that means something big is happening, right? If you don't hear from Q. So, it makes sense, right, within their mindset, right? Trump loses the election, but this is all part of a plan. So now Q, we're not hearing anything from him because the plan is happening.
All right, let's get back to what happened today. So you said Trump called for people to show up in D.C. today? Why?
Yeah, so today and I'm not too certain on like the lingo of it. I just know anyway. So I just what's the word, working class version of it. The layman's version of it. Today, today Congress was meeting to, I guess, like certify the election, and a group of, and so Trump invited the Stop the Steal people, the MAGA people, right? His people, the deplorables, whatever you want to call it, the 80 million, as he refers to it, as the people who voted for him, to come to DC and have a peaceful protest to show, like, as like a show of force, right, to get the Congress to do what they want them to do, and sort of pressure them to act a certain way, right, to be accountable, right. Having
and what is it that Trump wanted? He wanted Pence to throw out certain votes or something like that. What was the last minute attempt here?
I don't know if it even happened, because they stormed the Capitol before anything could be really discussed in length or voted on.
Supposedly they went to a secret location. That's what I heard.
Oh yeah, the underground tunnels with their plastic bubble hoods.
Yeah, those were creepy. Did you see that, where there was like some representative? He looked like he was in a space bubble helmet or something like that.
Buzz Lightyear outfit.
It looked ridiculous.
So what happened was they needed one senator and one representative to object to the certifying of the electors and votes, and they did it with Arizona. And because they have certain states where they have, I guess they feel like they have reasonable evidence of some sort of voter fraud or manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And what the goal was to get a 10-day period to audit the election and, have an impartial investigation into voter fraud, just to prove to the American people that, the elections are still safe, or, or to do whatever, right? In order for people to still, maintain trust in the election, right? That's a bipartisan line. And they were having debate about that. And it was, pretty fairly on party line with a lot of Republican dissenters. And then the discussion was interrupted because, Mike Pence was escorted out by Secret Service. And then you hear shouting in the halls in the distance, and they had to go to recess and then evacuate because a massive group, must have been thousands of people, of all these Trump supporters and protesters, were led in a march by Trump. I'm getting ahead of myself. So during that process, Trump was giving a speech, right? And it was going over all the fraud and such. And then he sent his followers on a march to outside the Capitol building.
All right, stand by. Vincent is with us here from Questioning Authority, the Shire Free Media channel over on DLive, dlive.tv/Shire Free Media. He's got his own show, by the way, that starts at 10 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, right after we finish here on Free Talk Live. We'll continue with what happened today in D.C., and you can share your thoughts too. Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so that was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Oh, $37,000 Bitcoin. Welcome to it. It's here.
Next up, 40,000.
Yeah, that could be tonight, tomorrow morning, at this rate. With you in the studio here on Free Talk Live, it's Ian.
And Arya.
And if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, well, it's not too late.
It's never going to be too late.
I don't think, well, maybe someday it will be. I don't think it's too late yet. But then again, what do we know? We don't. It could crash to zero.
Well, we were right yesterday when we said that it wasn't finished yet.
No,
at the very least.
That's right.
So we have at least a 24-hour track record of being mostly correct.
I suspect it is nowhere near finished. No. And if you want to learn more, go to bitcoin.com. Take 10 minutes out of your life, because it may be the most important 10 minutes you spend. Especially if you spend a few more minutes actually trying to figure out how to buy some Bitcoin. Of course, they can help you with that over at bitcoin.com. They can also learn you about things. You can go there at bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page, and you can then watch various different videos, including a quick 2-3 minute intro. That's all you got to do. Spend 2 or 3 minutes on this thing. Get the basics down about what makes Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, cryptocurrency very, very special, very different. Why is it so important? Why is it Bitcoin worth $37,000 per unit right now? Why has it gone up in just the last, what's it been?
It's funny. A week ago, I said to my coworkers at my job, I was like, so how about that $27,000 Bitcoin?
Right.
So a week later, I'm going to be coming in, about that $37,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's literally in 1 week, it's up 29, almost 30% in 1 week.
And this isn't, it's clear that there are legitimate forces driving this. This isn't just people who are experiencing the fear of missing out and they're buying in because they, it's this great big pump and dump like we saw in 2017.
This one's much more drawn out. It's going much longer than the previous run up, and it seems to have a lot more behind it. I think that's what you're saying there. Yes. Go to bitcoin.com, learn more about it. We've got more about Bitcoin coming up, so we'll get back into that. But I do want to bring Vincent back on the line. Vincent, are you still with us?
Yes.
All right. I got Kirby here with us as well. Kirby in Indianapolis, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead. I'm sorry, that's my bad.
I'm going to tell you, I saw this stuff in D.C., and I've been sitting here consuming it all day like Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, I'm happy as I can be. And on the other hand, I'm a little bit disappointed. But the rest of the world is watching this. China sees it. Russia sees it. We look like Venezuela right now.
Now, hold on, Kirby. When you say you're a little bit disappointed, are you disappointed for the same reason that I am, and that is that the protesters actually weren't trying to really change, they weren't trying to burn the place down, which would have really warmed my heart if they'd done that. I
wanted to see tar and feathers.
They were just trying to put their guy, their master, their preferred master. They want him to be the master. That's what this was about. What was disappointing to you about it?
Pretty much the same thing that made me happy because it shows the true hypocrisy, racism, just greed of America. This is all being done by a very vocal, violent minority. The fact that they could do everything that they did and get a guy to the chamber floor is amazing. And it shows that America is not going to take a serious stand against a violent white mob unless it absolutely has to. Again, that's why I say China's watching, Russia's watching. We look like a third world banana republic. We look like Adolf Hitler had there been cameras and cell phones. I'm torn about it, but in the end, it is a great thing. I didn't want to see anybody hurt, and unlike you, Ian, I don't want to see things burned down physically. But
why not?
May be the because people are going to get hurt, and I would think you, the non-violent guy who says violence is not the answer, would get that.
Hey, I don't believe in violence, but if somebody torches a government building, to me, they're doing us all a favor.
I want them to make sure the government building is empty first.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make sure the government buildings are empty because they're so humongous, but, get out of there. It's burning. You shouldn't stick around.
Well, I mean, somebody also set off an IED, I heard.
Really?
I heard that 2 packages were found, one outside of the Republican committee building there, and an unidentified package that was not confirmed as a bomb outside of the Democratic one. But I don't know if those are true, but none of them exploded from what I read.
Okay, but in the end, if those had been black, brown, red, yellow people, how many do you think that this would have been a slaughter? I think we all know that.
I can't disagree with you, but I want to believe you're wrong. I just don't think you are.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we didn't see slaughters of the Black Lives Matter protests earlier this year. I mean, there weren't straight
but
up.
They didn't storm the Capitol building.
Exactly.
Okay.
They did not storm a federal building full of politicians.
Well,
they did
maybe
set
they
up.
should have.
They did set up an autonomous zone.
It was sedition.
So was the autonomous zone.
They should have been shot.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, you're not actually calling for those people being shot, are you?
No, but what I'm saying is that if the police and the Capitol officials had done what they were supposed to do, those people would have been shot.
Well, they may not have had enough guys.
I'm glad they weren't.
Be arresting Congress and the Senate.
Hang on, Vincent. What was that you said, Vincent?
If they were doing what they're supposed to do, the people wouldn't be protesting in the first place. They'd be arresting Congress and the Senate.
Yeah, well, that's not their real job. Their real job is to protect the state, not to protect the people. But the point is, the numbers of people, of protesters, far outnumbered the number of police. And the reality is, whenever you outnumber the police, 3-1, 5-1, or 10-1, or whatever, this must have been more than 10-1. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of protesters out there. Those cops are going to stand down in most circumstances. I mean, the only ones that... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was just agreeing. Apparently, that's what they did. But, like I said, this just shows the hypocrisy of America. It shows how far America has come, and with its veneer. But America is still the same tin-pot dictatorship it was in 1777.
Yeah, and a few protesters storming the Capitol building for 30 minutes or an hour or however long it ended up being today. I mean, are they still there? Or I heard rumor that they were just orderly leaving the building when they were asked to leave at some point.
Well, I just looked at the news a few minutes ago. They got police out. They were throwing flashbangs. There were still people in the street, but I couldn't tell if they were the MAGA folks or...
Did the National Guard ever come onto the scene? Hey, Kirby, thanks for the call, man. I do appreciate hearing from you. Thanks for weighing in on this. Vincent, do you know, I heard a rumor that the government gang called in the National Guard. Did they ever show up?
The last I saw, there was some sort of SWAT team that, or at least, well, actually, I don't know. At this point, police and military, at least, the military's urban wear is, is almost indistinguishable. But
right.
I can confirm they did come out. They're wearing black vests instead of bulletproof vests, and they have the DC flag on them. That's the National Guard. The Pentagon initially declined the request for troops, but ultimately it seems they gave in and sent out some National Guards people.
Is the Pentagon in charge of the National Guard?
Presumably, I would imagine so.
What I saw was the Secretary of Defense discussed with Mike Pence. So first it was the mayor that wanted the National Guard, but the Department of Defense declined. And then Mike, let's see here, Defense Secretary. So he discussed deploying the National Guard with Pence, McConnell, and Pelosi. They had issues with optics of how that'll look, having military in the nation's capital. No mention of Trump. So they considered it with Pence, McConnell, and Pelosi. It seems like they asked the Secretary of Defense to deploy the troops.
Can you stick with us for one more segment here, Vincent?
Oh, yeah.
All right, more with Vincent from Questioning Authority here at his DLive channel is Shire Free Media, all one word. There's more coming up. Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Email is easy, instant, and free, and that can be real embarrassing. Email lacks the eye contact and body language you get in face-to-face conversation, or the tone of voice and other nuance you hear in a telephone conversation. Email is just words, often few words. We're all smothering in spam, so we often reply in terse fashion that's easy to misunderstand. And email doesn't cost you a postage stamp, and it lacks the deliberation time it'd take to walk to the snail mail box. So it's easy to succumb to the "oh yeah" stimulus response trap. When in doubt, don't snap back at snippy messages you get. You may have mistaken the sender's intent. And unless you're sending AOL to AOL, there's no unsend. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You may take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Aria.
Talking about what happened in the Washington, D.C. today, where thousands of protesters had gathered to support Donald Trump in a last-ditch effort to try to somehow turn around the results of the election. They were hoping, I guess, that Mike Pence was going to some kind of magic spell or whatever.
This has been the longest post-election garbage that I've seen, though, in quite a long time. And I hate Joe Biden only slightly less than I hate Trump, or slightly more than I hate Trump. But I am ready for Biden to take office just so that these Republicans shut the hell up.
Oh, I hope he never makes it. I hope that the whole thing
that would be
falls
ideal,
apart.
right?
Yeah, I hope the whole thing falls apart. I mean, right now we've seen for the first time in generations, I mean, if ever. I mean, I think there was one point where wasn't D.C. set on fire at some point by like the French way back when or something?
By the Canadians.
Was it the Canadians? And I guess Vincent might know a thing or two. He's actually originally
They burned
from
down the
Canada.
White House.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, back then,
1812, the British burned down the White House, occupied D.C. Congress convened in a hotel.
Yeah. So, but now, this is the first time in our lifetimes. It's the first time since grandparents' lifetimes that we've seen Washington D.C.'s security be overrun by protesters. It was a heck of a day today. Very, very interesting stuff. And Vincent, you've been watching it closely. I appreciate you coming on here with us tonight. Your show starts at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. You're doing a D-Live only show, correct? You're not on Twitch, just D-Live?
Yes.
And your channel there, dlive.tv/ShireFree Media. That's where people can check you out tonight. I imagine you're going to just be awash in footage tonight of this.
Oh yeah. I've been I've been collecting footage all day. It's going to be a show to remember.
Yeah, so definitely check him out there. So we were talking about the takeover of the Capitol building today. Now, interestingly, there were what would you say? Hundreds of people that went into this building? More than that?
Maybe about there were some were saying there was like tens of thousands of people. There were a lot of people. I only saw one stream because people would start to lose reception once they went into the chamber hall. So I didn't really see footage of that. But there were, I'd say as many. There was barely any elbow room, right? Like people would have to squish through. It was like a rave. They'd have to squish through a mass of people just to get out, even when the police were trying to herd people out.
Looking here at the CNBC report on this, there's Senator Jeff Merkley who tweeted a photograph of Electoral College ballots that were rescued from the Senate floor.
Rescued?
Yeah, he said if our capable floor staff hadn't grabbed them, they would have been burned by the mob.
How horrible would that have been?
Yeah, wouldn't that have been interesting if that had actually happened? They're lucky that they didn't burn the place down. It's a shame that they were the mob, so-called mob, was as respectful as they were.
Was it true that one of Pelosi's staff left out of there in such a hurry that she left emails open and her computer unlocked?
Yes. Oh yeah.
What an idiot!
That video is very well circulated on Twitter. Oh, people were sitting on. Someone stole the chair, right? They have a bunch of pictures of people sitting on Nancy Pelosi's chair. There's a video of a guy, I think the guy with like the Viking hat. He stole the chair, and it was a very bizarre collection of people. There were boomers, streamers, LARPers.
Well, now here's an interesting thing about the guy with the Viking hat. You're talking about the guy with the paint on his face, right? And the fur coat?
Yes.
Yeah, so this guy apparently is an alleged Antifa.
Well, he was at a Black Lives Matter rally.
Oh, was he at a Black Lives Matter rally? Okay.
Yeah, from Arizona.
Okay, that was what it was. Somebody said that they took a picture of him, and they claim that he's got like a pedophile logo tattooed on his chest, and that he was standing next to a guy with a communist logo tattooed on his hand. And there were rumors that Antifa was amongst the Trump supporters wearing backwards MAGA hats. Have you heard anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about the backwards MAGA hats. Like from the beginning, when people started to congregate around and people started to go in, people were, at least on the internet, a lot of people were tweeting that, oh, this isn't actual right, Republicans or Trump supporters, they respect the police too much. This is Antifa. And I thought that it was just a bunch of like cope And and like some of the grifters were tweeting it out. So I figured, oh, well, they're upset that their followers are going to be spending for money on bail instead of donations. But honestly, I've seen a lot of and it would make sense too, right? But finally, when a group of right wingers get a spine against the police, it's because Antifa tricks them into it. I've seen a lot of there's a lot of inconsistencies, right? Like I even hesitate when you said overran the Capitol, because don't get me wrong, there were a lot of people there and they outnumbered the police. But I saw clips of like the police like opening the gate, right? I've seen video of police opening the gate and letting in, and like ushering in like hundreds of Trump supporters. And some of the people who are saying that maybe not necessarily it was Antifa, but that it was this was some sort of tomfoolery, are sort of making a good point, because one, it's derailed any sort of political machinations, right, to get Trump back in, because this is just being reported by Big League Politics. Congress will reconvene tonight and certify the election results. It also gives Joe Biden his own Charlottesville, because from the beginning of Joe Biden's campaign, he's been for president all the way back to the primary. He's been using Charlottesville as a motif. He's been using images. He featured Chris Cantwell in his first campaign ad, and talking about this, domestic terrorist, sort of like this pasty white right-wing domestic terrorist. And then you have this event when, he's president-elect, and then he's going to take office, and then this is going to be his Charlottesville. He's going to use this to pass all sorts of red flag laws.
To crank up the security in D.C., hire more cops, that sort of thing.
The entire country, right? It's going to make America an even bigger police state. And I didn't even think that was possible.
Well, there's no better time than now to secede from the United States. I mean, this is it's an idea that's time has come.
I mean, it's clear that this experiment of taking 320 million different people and making them all follow the same leader, half of whom hate that leader, is not going to work. You can't please these two separate groups. Let them go their own ways.
Vincent, I want to say thanks for spending an hour with us here tonight talking about this. Definitely appreciate it, man.
Oh, certainly. Oh, thank you for having me.
And check him out again tonight, starting just after Free Talk Live ends. Head over to dlive.tv/Shire Free Media and give Vincent a follow over there. He's got a good show that he does, and he does it 3 times a week. So thanks, dude. We go to your calls, your thoughts here. Mallory is on the line in Texas. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Mallory.
Hi. So I just wanted to continue talking a little more about the protests and everything, and I guess from the last caller, kind of bringing up in a little bit of a comparison in Black Lives Matter, which to me, I think a lot of people, by comparing it, are missing the bigger picture, and that's kind of like it was mentioned too before. It is almost a good thing that happened, but then
it's definitely a good thing.
Overshadowed. I'm sorry.
I was just saying it's definitely a good thing. You're saying what's overshadowed?
So with Trump and MAGA and all that type of thing, and even the I guess the brand name, if you will, of Black Lives Matter and the brand name of MAGA, when people are missing the bigger picture, that this is a turmoil with our own government, and people are making it in a comparison with each other, like, oh, well, look at Black Lives Matter. They didn't go and burn down the Capitol building. Okay, they didn't burn down the Capitol building, which technically is our building as U.S. citizens as well. So we have the right to go storm it, and in my opinion, go storm it and, question the authority and the government. But Black Lives Matter did go and, that group burnt down people's businesses and people's livelihoods. So, to try and compare it to me, is kind of, there's not much comparison.
Well,
there.
First of all, Black Lives Matter didn't burn down a business. Black Lives Matter is just an idea. There is some sort of a legal structure, some corporation or whatever, but the people that burned down those businesses were protesters, and they all had, their own reasons for it. I don't support whatever it was that their reasons were, because they're crazy. If you're mad at the government, go to the government buildings and torch those. If you're going to torch something, torch a government building, and that's where
or a police station.
Yeah,
which
and that's
is a
where
government building.
Right, and the Minneapolis protesters did torch a police station, and it was like finally the protesters finally went after the right target, but then they went and they torched like 40 other places, some of whom were black-owned businesses. But Mallory, thanks for calling in tonight and sharing your thoughts. Definitely appreciate it. But at least these protesters in D.C. have the right target. Now, their idea wasn't right in that they were just wanting to get Trump to stay in office. So it's not like they're trying to, overthrow the government or shut the government down in any meaningful sense. But it was an interesting
It's
thing.
the first step toward that, though, with apparently a lot of them, now anti-Blue Lives Matter.
And where does it go next?
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
There are such things called a breatharian. And you know what? George Norrie doesn't eat, sleep, or drink either. Did you know that? Yes. You know what? He never gets tired.
George Norrie, the host of Coast to Coast AM, you believe... Let me just make sure I heard you correctly. You don't believe that he drinks, that he eats, and that he sleeps? Is that what you said? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
They're ascended masters. They don't have to be here. They come here to teach people and to enlighten people. And George Norrie and I think Art Bell might be one. Their blood content is gold. See, they don't have to
Their
be
blood
here.
content is gold? Is that what you just said?
Yes. That's right. You know what? Our content is iron. Their constitution is gold.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Gaining control of the Capitol. I'm Lisa Lacera. Nearly 4 hours after protesters stormed into the Capitol, with some entering the House and Senate chambers, the building has been declared secure. Fox's Jill Nato has more live.
A woman who was shot inside the Capitol has died. D.C. Metro Police confirming that, but not giving many details. This as protesters moved in on the Capitol building, trying to disrupt the certification of the electoral vote by Congress. Lawmakers like Congressman Peter Welch were being told tear gas was being used inside the building.
We're being instructed to each of us get gas masks that are under our seats.
Now the city is under curfew, with more National Guard troops coming in from neighboring Maryland as well as Virginia, adding to the federal agents from FBI, ATF, and the U.S. Marshal Service already assisting the Capitol Police. Lisa?
Jill, President-elect Joe Biden said the protests bordered on sedition and called for the restoration on what he called simple decency.
There's never been anything we can't do when we do it together. And this god-awful display today is bringing home to every Republican and Democrat and Independent in the nation that we must step up.
Biden condemned the actions of the demonstrators and called on President Trump to denounce them and to tell them to leave. Shortly after Biden spoke, President Trump did release a video on Twitter.
We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country.
Those claims of a stolen election have been repeatedly refuted by elections officials in several states. YouTube and Facebook both removed the video. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Recapping our top story, the U.S. Capitol now secure and Washington, D.C. now under a curfew until 6 a.m. after thousands of protesters descended on the building, some going inside and into the House and Senate chambers, while Congress was in the process of certifying the Electoral College results of the presidential election. In a statement released a short time ago, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi signaled the certification will continue this evening. The Arizona National Guard asking for help in administering the COVID-19 vaccine.
Calling all volunteers in the desert state.
To stem the tide of the COVID pandemic, we really need folks to come and volunteer.
Colonel Tom Leeper is the commander of the Guard's medical task force. He's training former medical professionals and current medical students to help give out the vaccine. The process began Wednesday in Maricopa County. The colonel says the goal is to fill the gap since hospitals there are stretched to the limit.
We just don't have enough people in the healthcare systems that are currently at maximum capacity to let their full-time nurses come and administer vaccinations.
According to the Guard, these volunteers will help vaccinate about 3.5 million Arizonans as fast as possible. CJ Papa, Fox News.
So strict COVID rules ahead of the NFL playoffs.
While there is doubt over whether the Cleveland Browns will be able to play their scheduled playoff game Sunday night in Pittsburgh against the Steelers because a number of Browns players and coaches have COVID-19, there's no gray area about what Browns fans in Ohio can.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Caitlin Taggart was a beautiful, lively girl who loved laughing and playing outside. But all that changed at the age of 12. Caitlin slipped into a persistent vegetative state, confining her almost entirely to her bed and Facebook.
She doesn't even have basic motor functions anymore. We literally have to drag her to the car to drive her to school in the morning.
She's totally unresponsive when we talk to her. Her eyes just roll back in her head.
Caitlin, honey, it's your dad.
With no hope that their daughter would ever recover, the Taggarts decided to seek legal permission to end Caitlin's life.
It is the most difficult decision we've ever had to make, but we just keep reminding ourselves that the real Caitlin is already gone. That's just her body texting.
We give her one painless injection, and that's it. Her eyes may flutter a bit, or she may murmur, "Are you for real killing me right now?"
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 603-283-6160. Coming up, the latest on the dangers of investing in Bitcoin. Aria, you'll be telling us about that a little bit later on tonight. It's Ian and Aria in the studio as we kick off the second hour, 603-283-6160. But obviously, the most important topic of the night. And normally we don't follow what the news
is the
considers.
$37,000 Bitcoin?
No, that's second most. Normally we don't follow, because that's been going on for the last 2 weeks. I mean, 2 months, 3 months.
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to prove to be bigger news than what happened today. But...
Oh, absolutely. Overall, the rise of Bitcoin is the story of the year. But this is the story of the moment, and that is the fact that the Capitol was overrun today by protesters, one of whom was shot to death, ostensibly by Capitol Police. National Guard troops are now on the scene and attempting to regain some sort of control in the city. There's video coming in. Luke Radowski posted that showing the police just going out of control, attacking people in the streets. It's getting pretty crazy. There's now a curfew in place from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So right now in D.C., it is curfew time. So it's gonna get interesting here tonight.
You know, I don't like the police, and I don't like the police attacking people.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what it takes to get conservatives to become anti-cop,
let's see it.
I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it, but I mean, it's
got to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to
maybe
continue.
Now they wish they'd voted for me.
You're
if they're saying F the police, I mean, hey,
right.
Come on.
So we're going to get back to your calls and thoughts, though, first, and you can weigh in on this or whatever happens to be on your mind. We go out to the West Coast, Oregon. Will is on the line with us here. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I just want to mention my thoughts on what's going on in D.C. To me, this just kind of seems really bleak. And I would normally welcome what's going on. I would absolutely welcome if they were there storming D.C. for like the million of legitimate reasons, such as the shutdowns, the authoritarian responses to this whole COVID-19 84 crap, from the economic issues, from the shutdowns, the government putting so millions of people on unemployment, and then giving them scraps of a $600 check to get by after mandating their job closed.
You're not wrong, man. They did the right thing, but it was. Go ahead.
Right. It's. I mean, they're storming it because their clown puppet president lost to the other clown puppet president.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so ridiculous that there's so many legit reasons to be mad at this, to be mad at the government, to be mad at the police, of all the brutality, of the war on drugs, of all the killings, and the police getting off, or somebody having pot or something like that. It's just so ridiculous. And it's not just them, too. It's the left, too. It's the Democrats.
Yep.
They do the same crap.
Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, the level of political
Biden.
discourse is absolutely dismal in the United States. But that's where we are. And like I said, I think it was on the Keen chat earlier, I said, well, they're doing this for all the wrong reasons, but it's still fun to watch.
I mean, they did pick the worst possible reason that they could have to storm D.C. or the Capitol building, and that says, oh, we want Trump to continue being president. Well, First of all, why do you even care who the king is? But beyond that, there are plenty of valid reasons, and my hope that for what comes out of this is that they realize the legitimate reasons are the same ones we've been talking about: the police brutality, the war on drugs, the militarization of the police, that they're now experiencing probably for the first time in their actual lives. So I'm hoping there is some good to come out of this. I don't think it's bleak. I think a lot of these people are going to be, as we talked with Vincent about earlier, coming around to the idea that, the police are not their friends.
I think we got a delay with Will. Will,
right.
Any other thoughts?
I hope
Go ahead.
So. Yeah, I hope so. I hope people wake up and recognize what's going on.
Thanks,
Agreed.
Will, for the call tonight, man. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. Like I said, this is a great time for secession. It's always a good time for secession, but it's especially a good time whenever there's a new election and people are upset. People are outraged at the other side winning, whether the other side, quote unquote, cheated or not. There's probably some cheating going on. It's the government. I mean, these systems are designed to be cheated. They're designed by cheaters. They're run by cheaters. Whether you're talking about the left or the right, these people are despicable. They're scum of the earth, these politicians, and no one should trust them. No one should love them. No one should like them. No one should serve them at restaurants. No one should pay them any attention whatsoever.
And I would say the same is true of their enforcers, the police and the military as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop serving them. Just ignore them.
Well,
Don't
the
obey.
problem with them is they have guns, and they will not be ignored.
The politicians won't let you ignore them either.
Yeah,
because they'll send those same people
them
with
in
guns.
with guns. Yeah, that's true. But as we saw, when you have enough people, it's a game changer.
It is.
That is what matters more than anything else.
And that's why we need more people to New Hampshire.
No doubt about it. Because, as we made this point earlier this week, and that is that the reason why, I think, the reason why our New Year's Eve party went unmolested while others were attacked, not in New Hampshire, but in New York City and Los Angeles County and elsewhere, the reason why others were attacked was because the police have the numbers in those places, and they just don't have them here. They don't.
Plus, they know that messing with us, it has never really ended well for them.
No.
And there was 100-ish of us there.
Yeah, they know they can go to a party in New York City, bust it up, ticket everybody, and probably 99% of the people, 99.9% of them, are going to pay the ticket, and they're going to make it go away. Yep. And the state's going to get richer. Whereas if they show up at our party with only like 70 people attending that party and they ticket the whole party, then probably 60 out of 70 of them will not pay the ticket, and the other 10 will probably just forget about it.
Yeah.
Like 60 out of 70 will challenge it as not guilty and like try to go to court, and the other 10 will just, they'll just be too lazy to do anything, to just file anything. But they're going to have a real hard time, basically, with us. Not that they're going to come up against violence when they come in, but they may be afraid that they will, because the fact is having guns is a factor here. In fact, somebody made the point in a chat to me during one of the breaks that maybe it wasn't because some people are suggesting, oh, well, if it was Black Lives Matter, they would have been massacred in D.C. If Black Lives Matter had come in.
That clearly can't be true, because Black Lives Matter or Antifa or whatever leftist group you want to call it set up an autonomous zone in the middle of
the Chaz, yeah,
multiple different cities, and they were not slaughtered.
Right. Well, Seattle was the big one where it went for like 3 weeks. Not only were they not slaughtered, the police backed the F out and left the area completely in that case. But the point that the person made on the chat was maybe it's because the right-wingers in D.C. had guns. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the police kind of stood by and stood down in that particular case.
Which would be good for them. I mean, we don't need a shootout in the middle of Washington, D.C., even if most of the bystanders would probably be politicians. It's just not something that we need.
Let's go on with your calls and thoughts. We have Bad Slave calling from New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Aria.
Happily from New Hampshire. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I am, in fact, just believing that politics is dead, that politics has shown to be the failure, of a process to generate, healthy society. The limitations that were started out with the idea of only by the consent of the governed is the right answer. People have to withdraw consent and record it and pass it on. And another complaint is I don't believe that we need to destroy buildings.
Let's talk about that. Hang on, Bad Slave. I do want to hear that. Because
we don't need to burn down the Capitol building, but I want to see it burned down.
Oh, man. Yeah, it just warms my heart.
It does. Make some marshmallows, man.
It's cold out there.
S'mores.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If it's your building, shouldn't you be able to destroy it? It's Free Talk Live.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you're scared me.
You
What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Our number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Aria.
603-283-6160. Coming up, we'll talk about why they say, the haters, that is, that Bitcoin is dangerous. We'll get into
Well, they've
that.
been saying that for a long time.
They are, but for some people, this will be the first time they've heard it because, some people just weren't paying attention until Bitcoin hit $30,000 and subsequently $37,000, which is what it crossed a little bit earlier here tonight. So that's coming up here tonight. Of course, your calls and thoughts. Welcome, 603-283-6160 as we go back to your phone calls and thoughts. And then we'll also be talking about what happened with Donald Trump's Twitter account, which, I don't really care what happens on Twitter, but this is kind of interesting because of the whole social media clampdown, so-called fact-checking, where these social media giants get to determine what is true and what is false. And they've taken a new step with Trump today for the first time.
Well, it was inevitable as he left the presidency that they were going to get sick of his crap and kick him off of Twitter.
Yep, and that's almost happened at this point. We're going to tell you about it coming up, but first we go back to Bad Slave. He had comments on the discussion we were having earlier about burning down government buildings. It was disappointing to see that the protesters, though they had taken over the building, did not attempt to destroy it in any way or in any significant manner. I mean, they definitely sat in some chairs and maybe took a few souvenirs home, but aside from that, it seems maybe I think a window was smashed, but beyond that, it remained relatively unscathed. And Bad Slave, you wanted to comment on that. Go ahead.
Well, of course, to me, the destruction of a structure is foolish. There's absolutely no upside to it.
Yes, there is. Symbols are powerful, and these buildings are nothing but symbols.
You were saying that, we could warm our hands on the burning building. Well, you know what? That building is heated. You could go inside.
I could also just burn it down.
I don't think he heard what you said about symbols. Aria, can you make that point?
Yeah, these buildings, they're meant to be symbols. That's why they're designed the way they are with the Roman architecture and the columns and the statues and the symbols.
Yes, they are.
So yeah, that symbology is bad. Everything that symbology represents is bad. Burn it down.
Yeah, so when you have a symbol of power and you destroy the symbol of power, that is a powerful statement to make. That is a statement saying, F this power, we're going to destroy it. Huh?
A building can be repurposed. You can repurpose it in a way that grinds the noses of anybody who wants to recreate this bad government will...
So burn the building down and erect a freedom monument in its place.
No, that costs money. You've already got something.
People will donate for it, Bad Slave. I mean,
or don't put anything there. I don't care. Just destroy the symbol of oppression.
Yeah, I'd rather see a burnout husk forever in D.C. That'd be great.
So if that's the case, why aren't you and Aria doing it?
Why aren't we doing it? Because I don't care enough about DC, and to me, destruction isn't my path. Like, I'm not interested in that personally, but it warms my heart when I see a government structure, a symbol of power like that being taken down.
I don't think it's the best use of my time to do something like that. And then
I also cheer when I see statues being pulled down as well of power-sick freaks. Sorry, you were saying?
I don't think it's a good use of my time to go and burn down the Capitol building and then spend the rest of my life in prison for arson. I don't think that's very good activism for a single individual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a group of thousands of people had done it, they probably wouldn't have actually been charged with anything.
It'd be hard to determine who lit the fire.
Just like they weren't charged with anything when they burned down the police station in Minneapolis. But me just going down there like, look at me, I'm going to burn down. No, that's a terrible, awful idea.
Public property. All the public property in the world is owned by the people.
Well, it's owned by the government.
They can repurpose it.
Well, if it's owned by the people, then that means it's our property. And if you own a thing, which we all know, like you said, Aria, this is BS, the idea that we own these things, because clearly the people who possess it own it, and those are the government gangsters. They have control over these buildings until today, when they lost control of those buildings. And anything that a criminal gang has that they stole, the money that they stole from people to build these buildings, for instance, that doesn't legitimately belong to them. So even though they have control over it, 9/10 of ownership is control, right? Like if you have control over a thing, you got men with guns standing around it, well, sort of by proxy, you own that thing. Well, if you then all of a sudden have a different group of people come in, throw the men with guns off of that thing, then the different group of people owns that building. And if you do believe this fantasy, and thank you, Bad Slave, for the call, that Bad Slave is promulgating that we, the people, own these government buildings, well, if you own a thing, you have the ability to destroy the thing you created, to destroy the thing that you own.
Absolutely. If I wanted to, I could go take a hammer to my car right now because it's mine.
Absolutely. And it would be your right.
Yes. Just like if I really owned the Capitol building, I could do the same thing to it with a sledgehammer.
Let's talk to Mark. He's in Florida. Mark, co-host here on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Oh, my God, that is rich. You telling Bad Slave that he has a fantasy, and you're talking about burning down the Capitol building. Oh,
No, we weren't talking about
great.
burning it down. We were talking about watching it burn.
And you don't have the stones to do it. Not you, Arya.
No, I wasn't talking about that I would personally do those things, but it does warm my heart when those things happen.
Right. You're sitting here talking about how it would warm the cockles of your heart if you could just see the Capitol building. I mean,
are you saying it wouldn't warm your heart?
Voluntarism.
Are you saying it wouldn't? Are you saying you wouldn't feel good about that?
No, I don't want to see the destruction of the Capitol building
Why
in the
not?
United States. I can tell you this, that when I heard about the violence this morning that was occurring, I woke up, sent a text to somebody who sent me the news. I said, well, this is pretty, politics is violence. It's a threat against your neighbor. Of course, people are going to react. This is the probable, almost certain future of 200 years of us going back and forth and back and forth.
Sure.
No, it's going to be the red team. No, it's going to be the blue team. And this is going to keep on happening. And frankly, I don't think America is going to get to be a nicer place anytime soon.
No,
because I don't
it's
think
going to fall
Kamala
apart.
Harris and I don't think Joe Biden have the guts, have the right personality types, let's say that, in order to create a better nation. But if they did, I would cheer it. I'd be delighted.
What are you talking about?
used-
How could a politician have a personality type that could do anything to make things any better? This country, these people cannot get along. People do not agree. And, Biden being a better speaker or being somehow, more personable, or Kamala Harris being more personal ain't going to do jack diddly to bring people together.
I'm not talking about being personable. What I would say, in fact, is that what I would like to see from a president is, hey, look, the United States federal government has gotten in your business a great deal. We're going to leave the job of governing where it belongs to the states, and y'all can deal with that
well,
stuff.
there's no
We're
one
gonna
proposing
stick to
that.
our constitutional rules. I understand no one's proposing
So forget
that.
about it. It's never going to happen.
Burn down.
Speaking of
Neither
fantasies,
is burning down the Capitol.
What do you mean neither is burning down the Capitol? Did you think that a bunch of people were going to break into it today? I'm sure yesterday you would have thought that would have been impossible. But today it happened. The only reason it didn't burn down is because nobody decided to torch the place. So they're lucky that didn't happen. If this were any other place, that could have very well have happened. There are plenty of other national capitals all around the world that have been lit on fire in the last 2 decades. So it's not unheard of at all. More coming up here. I don't know if Mark's got more. He can stay if so. It's Free Talk Live.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. What you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dinovite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. We invite you, if you want to join us here, you can do that. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio, it's Ian.
And Aria.
And you've heard us talking about Divi here on Free Talk Live. It's a cryptocurrency that makes it super easy to run a masternode. And Divi did a major upgrade recently, so if you haven't updated your Divi client, you ought to go and do that. Go to diviproject.org. You can learn more about Divi there, but running a masternode with Divi is the easiest I've ever seen. And I've been involved in setting up other masternodes, and I usually have to hire somebody. In fact, every time prior to Divi, I've had to hire somebody to set up the masternode. I just don't have the, I'm good with computers. I just don't, I'm not like a Linux admin. And you kind of have to have a high level of knowledge to be able to set these things up. Not with Divi. Anybody can do it. Even with Windows, you can do a masternode, which is super amazing. So get on over to diviproject.org. Learn more about the masternodes there. Learn more about Divi. You can get Divi at several exchanges or directly from the Divi team, which if you're going to buy a fair amount of Divi, that's the way to do it, because then you're not going on an exchange and pushing the price up when you make the purchase. You can go and jump into their Telegram channel and connect with them. Go to diviproject.org. That's diviproject.org. We go back to Mark Edge. He's one of our co-hosts here on Free Talk Live. He's currently away in Florida, I believe. You're on with Ian and Aria. Now, you were saying that it wouldn't make you happy to see the Capitol building burn.
It wouldn't, no. But I will say this: I'll give you a solution here in just a moment. But I'll tell you, I'll throw you a little bone. I was happy for a moment. Like there was a little bit of glee in my heart when I heard that the Capitol building had been penetrated by protesters. Mm-hmm. And here's the reason. The reason is because this building, the people in that building, portray themselves as representatives of the people. And we got to see pictures today of these representatives huddled on the floor, hiding from the people the very people that they propose to represent, which to me is the clearest picture that anyone in America needs, that these people, these liars and thieves, and in some cases, killers and perverts, these weirdos, society's most successful sociopaths, are there representing us while hiding on the floor from us. How could that possibly be? And in fact, it can't. And we all know it. They're not representatives of us. They call themselves representatives, but they're nothing like that.
They're criminal gangsters is
That's
what
a really
they are.
good point, though, Mark.
Well, yeah, but we could have seen that and had them burn the building down.
And Tar and Feather, the ones who were there.
As far as the building goes, the highest and best use of that building is to leave it as a historical monument to the way that we used to govern.
Don't you think burning it down would be the best way of creating that monument, though? Just have the burned out husk there for...
You could sell the ashes.
Destroying the pyramids of Egypt would be a great way to celebrate the freedom that the slaves that built those pyramids should have
but those
had.
pyramids are a wonder of the world.
And the latest historical findings are that the pyramids were not built by slaves, and that these people were paid to build them.
Wait, it wasn't aliens?
Yeah, they had to, but they were paid, right? Like there's voluntary, whether they got compensation or not. The way that the voluntary things look in the past is really murky compared to us.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on 3500 BCE Egypt. I mean, neither one of us were there.
But look, making those pyramids was way more of an accomplishment than the architects who built the normal-looking, ugly government buildings in D.C. I mean, there's no comparison between those two things. What about this, Mark? If you had seen video footage coming out of Venezuela and the National Assembly building in Venezuela, or the mansion of Nicolas Maduro, the dictator president there, had been set on fire, would you also be sad about that?
I certainly would not be sad. No. I would probably feel smug would be the way that I would feel.
But yet you would feel upset if somebody burned the Capitol building in the U.S. What's the difference?
I've been to it. It's a beautiful building in so much it has lots of. It's gorgeous.
There's nothing gorgeous about government buildings.
I want to briefly return to the pyramid point as well, because it also occurred to me, and I think, Ian, you were about to make this point.
Yeah.
What the pyramids represent today is not oppression and slavery. They represent, the majesty of what humans can do when they're tremendously motivated to do something. Versus the Capitol building, which is just a symbol of state oppression.
Mm-hmm.
It may very well, and I think it's important to look at our history of what these things are. I think it's important to look at the history of freedom, and that the United States, in all of its pimply glory, right, all of the blemishes that are all over it, is a step in man's path towards freedom, independence, and self-rule. Right, these sorts of concepts, and I think that destroying the Capitol building for no particular reason other than it would make me happy
there is a reason. The reason is to destroy the symbol of oppression.
Right, and
but
also
they'll have a freaking Zoom meeting to talk about their stuff, and they'll do whatever they're doing in the absence of whatever.
I know, but you break their power over people. You show that they're vulnerable.
Yeah, you don't understand the symbol, the importance of destroying symbols. But thank you, Mark, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Obviously it didn't happen this time, but maybe next time.
Maybe. I mean, that's what you do. If you want to destroy a religion, you go after its symbols. You corrupt the symbols and you destroy the symbols. And when you can, you replace them with other symbols, or you adopt their symbols into your own religion. Now, we don't want to create a new state religion, so we don't want their symbols.
Right. I don't want to take over the building. I want it to go away and never exist again, and the ideas that it represents to never come back. This is the reason why people burn flags, because it's easier, number one. It's almost as powerful of a statement. So given the size of the structure, a flag is relatively simple. You can purchase it on your own, you can burn it on your own, and in a lot of places you won't be arrested for it. But it is a symbol, and it does upset a lot of people who have this religious connection to whatever is on that flag. Now, what flag you choose will, determine who gets offended. Pretty much any flag out there, you're going to offend somebody who's paying attention, which is why it was interesting a few years ago here in Keene, New Hampshire, when an activist, Anarcho Jesse, downtown Keene, burned 3 flags. He burned, I believe it was the state of New Hampshire, the United States, and the UN flag in succession. Which I thought was an interesting twist on a flag burn. And curiously, even though some people were upset, no one tried to start a fight with him, which was nice. And no one arrested him.
Well, it's New Hampshire, so there was a decent chance he was armed.
Yes, that's true. As with the people standing around.
Also true.
So if you want to join the show, you can, 603-283-6160. Any other comments on what went down today in D.C.?
Not really. I hope that, these people ultimately learn that the cops are not their friends, because, they are the ones who've been like, oh, thank you for your service, or thank you, officer, as they're getting arrested. But today, That's not what they experienced. They did ultimately obey the police, it seems, when the police said, hey, you have to get out of this building.
That's true. Although Trump himself did call for people to leave, which actually is the other thing I wanted to talk about. So Trump put a video out today where he basically asked people to, go away, go home, etc. And
this was a show of force for Trump. This was him letting all of the other politicians know that, hey, I could have pushed this a lot further if I wanted to.
He called for these protests.
Yes.
Now, he didn't specifically call for people to go inside the Capitol.
If he asked these people to burn down the Capitol building, they would do it.
That's a good point. So he posted on Twitter 2 tweets within the last few hours, and they have been removed, which is the first time in his presidency, from what I understand, that Twitter has actually deleted Trump's tweets.
Now, I knew they made a few of them where you couldn't interact with them.
That was what they did first. So one of them posted at about 5:01 today. He wrote, "These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever." At the bottom of that, Twitter's little icon with the exclamation mark says, "This claim of election fraud is disputed," which is normally where it would end. And then it says, this tweet can't be replied to, retweeted, or liked due to a risk of violence." Even though he's saying go home in the tweet. They then later deleted this tweet from his profile.
Did they?
Yes, they did. There's more coming up. Free Talk Live. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here in the studio tonight. It's Ian.
And Arya.
We've been talking about the developments in Washington, D.C. today. Very interesting times we're living in here with the Capitol building being stormed. Sadly, it is back under the possession of the government gang. They are
See,
back.
this is why they should have burned it down.
Exactly. They're back doing their thing. Politicians are bloviating on live streams right now in the very same room that protesters had occupied just, 3-4 hours ago or something like that. They're back. They're doing the Electoral College count. They're moving ahead with their government gangster.
I mean, Mark
duties.
is right. If they had burned down the building, sure, they would have been on Zoom tonight or whatever,
Sure.
or some underground bunker doing this crap anyway.
Yep.
But it would have, given us more hope for the future that, hey, we burned down this one, we'll burn down the White House too. We'll keep burning them down until you people finally
Stop
get the
coming
message.
Back. Yeah. Go home. We'll burn your homes down as well. Now, again, I'm not saying I support
want to go that far.
Well, you know what? If they're going to kill you and your family members and destroy your livelihood, I mean, I gotta say, I wouldn't shed any tears if Chris Sununu's house burned down. I wouldn't shed any tears. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying that I would do it. But this thug,
I wouldn't shed any tears if his house burned down of like an electrical shortage or something.
Yeah.
But I would be kind of sad if somebody went and burned down his house.
Would you? Okay.
I would.
I mean, I feel bad for his wife.
Because as immoral and deceitful as he is, as much of a thug, a goon, he's still a human being.
By the way, this is the governor of New Hampshire. Yeah, he is a human being, but when you take a position of power over other humans' lives and you destroy those humans' lives, then I'm sorry, you don't have the same rights as another human being does at that point. You have surrendered your rights. Like when you if you were to attack me, right, you would have surrendered your right to life at that point.
Sure.
Because I would then have the right to take your life from you if I, believed that my life was in jeopardy by you attacking me.
Right.
So when you, as a government goon, attack people and destroy their lives, you have surrendered your right to have a home.
Sure, I'm not saying that it would be immoral for someone to burn his house down.
Right.
No, certainly they would be morally right to do that. It's not a good idea to do it, and please no one do it. But I would still be sad that a human being had their home burned down.
He's lucky. I'd be sad about his kids. I'd be sad about his wife, but not him. I really wouldn't. He's a thug.
I try to have sympathy for everyone, even the evil people.
Well, I can have sympathy, right? Like, oh, sure. I'm sorry that you're such a thug. I'm sorry that you've decided to destroy people's lives.
That's like apologizing to your girlfriend by saying, "Look, I'm sorry you got angry."
Yeah, exactly. But I don't feel bad for anything bad that happens to these politicians. Look, I believe in forgiveness. I believe in it. But as long as these thugs are going out, like if Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, tomorrow said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. I forgot all about.
I had a stroke for 25 years.
I forgot all about live free or die. I thought it meant something, and then I just got, I got taken over by the attractive power that had imbued me, and I just felt like I needed to tell everybody what to do, and I'm sorry." I'd be like, "Okay, I forgive you." And
I would instantly forgive him, and that would be an amazing development in human history.
And I don't require someone asking for forgiveness in order to give it.
But they do have to stop doing
They do have to
aggression.
stop it. Yeah, they do have to stop. And he's not stopping.
No, he's not.
No, and in fact, just recently, what was it? His Twitter. I got to pull up this guy's Twitter. This ridiculous man. Those that don't know, there have been protests that have been happening outside of.
I've been calling him names and a whiny little girl all day long on Twitter.
Right. Sununu, the governor here, had a protester arrested. We spoke with him last night. We spoke with the guy that was arrested, Savage Truth 603 on YouTube. And
I mean, my car was vandalized. I had people literally trespass onto my property and steal my stuff. And I received death threats, and I never called the police. Like, hey, go arrest this person.
Right.
Quit being a bitch, Sununu.
He is being a little bitch, and so this morning, I guess, or earlier today, or whenever it was, on his @Gov Chris Sununu profile, here's what he wrote this morning. Here's a good metric for everyone when they wake up each morning. If the day ends in Y, social distance, wear a mask, and do everything you can to stay safe. There are no days off. For the safety of our community and to keep our economy open, we simply cannot let up now. So, I mean, this guy is anything but live free or die.
Oh, absolutely.
He's the antithesis of it. He's a total politician, total scumbag, and he deserves all the negative attention that he gets. And he's lucky someone hasn't burned his house down. And I don't know what it's going to take for these politicians to get the message that we don't want them around. We don't want them telling us what to do. And the more
lies...
Well,
we don't, but they won't let us just ignore them.
They won't.
I mean, and that's not right. Look, if you want to obey Sununu and all of his stupid mandates and you want to have a king, fine. But just let me peacefully coexist alongside you, ignoring these lunatics.
Right. He won't even let people have a simple candlelight vigil outside of his home. Now, maybe he was worried the candles were going to burn his house down or something like that. But
they weren't real candles.
No,
they were electric ones.
Yeah. Regardless, candlelight vigils are not known for getting out of control.
Yeah, they're generally among the most peaceful of protests.
Yeah, incredibly peaceful. So if you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. And I got to say, I love the Free State Project. I don't know who the Free State Project has running their Twitter, but they are really entertaining.
Okay, also, you need a good troll running your official Twitter accounts for sure.
Yeah, whoever they are like on it. So they responded to Chris Sununu by posting a video from quarantine, from our New Year's Eve party. And their response is, "Sorry to have missed you on New Year's Eve, but we were thinking of you." And it's like a 20-second video of Skyler, the guy we had on last night. Have you seen his video?
I have not.
It's hilarious. I can't play it on the air because it's got a profanity in it. But
I'm fairly certain we can speculate who's running the FSP Twitter, though.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we should say it out loud, but I have no idea. But it shows like the whole party. It's a really great video. It's the best video of the party I've seen yet because it's short. It's easily shareable, and he just kind of like pans the camera and kind of shows the party, and he's doing like a selfie at the same time, and then he brings the camera in and close.
Oh, yeah, I remember
and he
that.
goes,
yeah.
"Hey, Sununu, F you," or something like that, and it's really great. It's really like in your face.
I have seen that video.
Yeah. So that was the official Free State Project Twitter account response to what Sununu had said on Twitter this morning.
Man.
So kudos to whoever it is that's running that account. That's awesome news. And by the way, the Free State Project is now 1 month away from its full 5-year move window. It has been, as of February 6th, it will have been 5 full years since the Free State Project reached 20,000 signers of people, libertarian types, who've said they would move to New Hampshire. Now, sadly, we haven't seen even a quarter of those people move to New Hampshire because, well, I don't know. Everybody's got their reasons. But nonetheless...
I mean, didn't they start signing in like 2007 or something?
2001.
Okay, so, I mean... Look, if I had signed something in 2001 that I was going to move somewhere within the next 5 years, you wouldn't have been able to count on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it was only completed in, I guess, 2015. They finally got 14 years later. They finally hit the signature numbers. I imagine a lot of those people had just
some of them died.
Yeah,
I mean, most of them probably didn't, but
or their lives got into a rut. They bought a mortgage.
A lot of people forgot.
Whatever.
I can tell you this: I called when I was living in Florida, because that's where I'm from. Prior to moving here, they had these things called Free State Project local groups. And I wanted to organize one of those because the idea was you could kind of get together with the people in your area and meet the people that might be your neighbors when you all ended up moving to New Hampshire. And so I created one of these groups, and I got in touch with the Free State Project. And if you created one of these groups, you would get the database of their signers, but only from your county and adjacent counties.
Okay.
So I got all those names, and this was 2004 or 2005.
So only like 3 or 4 years after.
Only like 3 years after. And I called every person. I tried to get in touch with every person on that list. Most of them, phone numbers disconnected, emails not responsive. Of the people who I did get in touch with, many of whom did not even remember signing up for the Free State Project. So 3 years in, the list was like pretty weak. So 20 years later, I think it's actually pretty good that we've seen a tenth of the people, because over 2,000 people have moved. I think it's closer to like maybe 3 now. I haven't seen the exact numbers.
Well, if you include the people who aren't actually part of the Free State Project, it's going to be a bit higher. Right.
And that's the thing. It's hard. Captain Kickass is another example of somebody who is not a Free Stater but moved here anyway and is a great activist.
Yeah, Liberty just tends to sort of attract people here.
Right.
So people have that mindset. One way or another, they end up finding out about New Hampshire. I didn't even know about the Free State Project the first time I came up here.
A lot of people don't. And we're getting a lot of people who are coming up to check things out today who are hearing about the New Hampshire migration from the Freedom Cells. They don't know anything about the Free State Project. They just know that people are moving to New Hampshire. People are looking right now. I had a lady reach out to me from Buffalo, New York, looking to move. She'd never even been here before. She didn't know anything about the Free State Project.
Visit first, people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to get out of a place, I mean, you should get out.
It's true.
We're coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Our purpose will be accomplished. I'm Lisa Lacera. That's part of a statement from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi as Congress will resume the certification of the Electoral College results after a nearly 4 hours long violent protest where demonstrators barged into the House and Senate chambers and lawmakers were evacuated. Fox's Jill Nato has more live.
Vice President Mike Pence is back on Capitol Hill as lawmakers are also expected to return to certify the Electoral College results. But congressmen and senators are going to have to deal with broken glass and debris left behind by protesters. Speaker Pelosi said after talking with the Pentagon and the vice president, they decided to go ahead tonight. We know one woman was shot and killed at the Capitol, and House Republican Conference Chair Congresswoman Liz Cheney told Fox,
scores of law enforcement, Capitol police officers who were injured. It is just absolutely unacceptable.
Now, National Guard troops from Maryland and Virginia are joining federal agents as well as Capitol Police trying to maintain order. Lisa?
Jill, in a video posted to Twitter, President Trump had a message to the demonstrators.
Go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
But in the video, the president again made claims that the election was stolen, which has been refuted numerous times. Twitter has since locked the president's account, demanding he remove tweets where it says he excused violence, and Twitter threatened permanent suspension. YouTube and Twitter have removed the video over the election fraud claims. President-elect Biden said of the protests, our democracy is under unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Recapping our top story, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has issued a statement indicating the process of certifying the Electoral College results will continue tonight after violent protesters stormed the U.S. Capitol building, breaching the House and Senate chambers. A curfew has been put into effect in Washington, D.C. until 6 a.m., though some protesters remain on the streets. Earlier today, President-elect Biden made another cabinet pick.
It looks like Judge Merrick Garland will finally get his congressional hearing. He earned the nod over other candidates President-elect Biden was considering, including former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates and ex-Senator Doug Jones. Garland is best remembered for being President Obama's pick to replace the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Senate Republicans denied him any consideration. If Garland is confirmed, he would lead a Justice Department facing racial tension in policing, global cyber threats, and perhaps an investigation of the incoming president's son. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
An online retailer working to help solve a problem its success created.
Amazon is spending $2 billion over the next 5 years to create affordable homes near 3 of its major U.S. employment hubs in the Puget Sound area of Washington State, Virginia's Arlington, and Nashville, Tennessee. Most of the investment will be through low-cost loans to preserve or build affordable housing. It will also offer grants to public agencies and minorities.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
After notifying students that there will be no awesome events happening on campus this weekend, Hamilton College Activity Board Coordinator Jessica Wilson from the class of 2015 spoke to Onion reporters about the disappointingly empty days ahead.
On behalf of the entire Campus Activities Board, I would like to truly apologize for failing to live up to the standards expected of us from everyone on campus. And the fact is, we let the school down.
Wilson said that while the board is usually proficient at booking plenty of cool events for all students to participate in, the upcoming weekend will have no interesting lectures, no wrestling match against Amherst, no acoustic coffee house, and no outdoor movie screening of Silver Linings Playbook.
We tried our best to organize a foam party in Dunham Quad for Friday night, but all the foam machines were rented, and we failed. This falls on us. We realize we don't deserve your trust yet, nor do we expect it, but we'll do everything we can to restore your confidence in us, starting with a comedy hypnotist show on Thursday at Minor Theater. Tickets are $5.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the program here. And in the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Aria.
The number is 603-283-6160. Coming up, is Bitcoin a danger? Is it the most dangerous investment? That's what one article is going to say here in just a moment. That's on the way. 603-283-6160 as cryptocurrency for the first time ever has now crashed through $1 trillion market cap.
It's definitely getting the government's attention.
Congratulations. This is huge. It's a big deal. I mean, just several days ago, it had busted through $700 billion, and the previous high was like 700 change billion. So it destroyed the old 2017 market cap maximum. And we're not just talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about all of the sort of noteworthy cryptocurrencies combined. Okay,
yeah, and for people who don't know what that means more than $1 trillion of fiat currencies have been put into cryptocurrencies.
Correct. The value has left the fiat and gone into cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And it also means that Bitcoin itself is, let's see what the current number on Bitcoin is.
Last I saw, it is the 9th largest asset in the world, including things like Microsoft and Alphabet Inc., who of course owns Google and YouTube.
Yep, it still hasn't beaten those, but it's getting closer with $686.5 billion in market cap on, that's just the value of Bitcoin. The total number of Bitcoins times the cost of one Bitcoin. That's where you get that number from.
Who's that guy who's really anti-Bitcoin, owns the investment hedge fund thing? I mean, I know there are several.
Peter Schiff?
Yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is worth more than his company. As of today.
Way more. Wait, Peter Schiff's company?
I believe so.
Well,
if not, it's another one.
I doubt it's publicly traded. So you probably aren't going to know what his company's worth, but Bitcoin is worth more. I just pulled it up here according to, so CoinGecko is where I'm getting the Bitcoin number from. It's 686 billion. That puts Bitcoin at higher than Tesla. That is now, Bitcoin is now the number 6 ranked I mean, it's not a company, but it.
Okay, so maybe it was 6, not 9 that I was thinking.
Well, it was 9 previously.
At some point, yeah, sure.
Yeah, like within the last 2 weeks, it was at number 11, then 9, then 8. So it's defeated Visa at number 8, Berkshire Hathaway at number 7.
That's it.
That was the last time we talked about it. Was it defeated Berkshire Hathaway?
Yeah, that's the company that's owned by one of these notoriously anti-Bitcoin people.
Oh, I think Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett.
Maybe that's it.
I think that's him. I could be wrong about that. If you want to call in 603-283-6160. But so it had most recently beaten Berkshire Hathaway, and now it has jumped up and beaten Tesla at number 6. So
who's next? Walmart?
Next, Facebook. Oh no, Walmart's already been taken down. Walmart was down the list at number 10.
Okay. So Facebook is next.
Facebook is next. Now, Bitcoin's going to have to add another $100 billion to its market cap, but that could be like 3 more days.
If that.
At this rate, yeah. So Alpha.
Are you kidding, man? We were at 33,000 24 hours ago, and it's already up
37.
to 37. The next night.
They got to jump up a little bit more to nail Facebook, and then a lot more to take down Google, which is known as Alphabet Incorporated. They've got to go up to over $1 billion. Over $1 trillion. So Bitcoin itself would have to be 1.1 and change trillion in
order
to beat Google.
Roughly 700 now. 700 billion?
Not even quite. It's almost there, though.
Well, I was rounding.
685, yeah.
Yeah, I would go ahead and call that basically 700 billion.
It could be 700 billion by the time we finish the show.
It's been a wild year already.
Yeah, let's go to Jeff in Iowa. Jeff, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, folks. I was wondering here with all of the stuff going on at the Capitol and just the whole COVID thing in general. With relation to the non-aggression principle, and this is just something I've been thinking about, and I just kind of really wanted your opinions on it. At what point are we justified in force being used to stop all of these aggressions? And when
It's
I
a
say
good
aggressions,
question.
I mean the things
Sure.
that we all agree on, like taxation.
Give an example of what you
and
mean
the
by
potential of
force.
stealing.
When you say force would be
Well,
used to stop them.
I would go full
An
scale.
example, I guess, would be, well, in my case, the first thing that pops to my head is just, let's say I'm I'm getting paid off of a payroll, like an independent contractor, so I'm filing my own taxes at the end of the year. Let's just say I don't. That's my line in the sand. And then, of course, letters come. Somebody shows up from the IRS. At that point, because it's theft.
Sure.
I mean, am I justified in slamming the door in their face, going further than that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends on the perspective that you're looking at it. You're morally justified to shoot that person who's coming to your house in order to rob you. You would be morally justified in going and shooting the people at the IRS just because they attempted to steal from you habitually. However, morality isn't the only thing at issue here. It's a bad idea. It's a throwing away of your life, which is bad strategy. You're going to end up in prison or executed.
Yeah, and this is this is an issue that, and I'm glad you brought this up because it's been being discussed in the chat room recently on our Matrix server. You can go to chat.lrn.fm, where people are upset at me for not more viciously opposing our co-host Nobody, who is frequently calling for violence now on the air here on Free Talk Live. And it's just like he calls for it so often that I'm not going to stop the show in the middle of another topic to interrupt him and argue with him for 10 minutes straight about it. And the fact is, there's not much I can say because it is morally justified. But I agree with you, Arya, that it's a really bad plan. Now, personally, my morals say that violence begets violence, and so that even though you're justified, it may be, one, a bad idea because you might die, two, a bad idea because people won't understand it and they'll get mad at you and it'll be an excuse for the government to get larger. These are some of the practical reasons not to do it. But for me, it's like you could become the thing that you hate if you go towards the realm of violence. So even though it is justified, to me it's an immoral thing to do in that I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be violent, even though it's in self-defense.
I agree. I don't want human blood on my hands, self-defense or not.
Yeah. So, but that's only just my sort of religious perspective on it. It's not a real argument that anyone else can take seriously unless they have the same religious beliefs that I do. So I'm not as persuasive, I don't think, on that point.
Right, and that's kind of where I landed. And the reason that this is even an issue for me is because of that huge gray area. I like logical consistency. It drives me absolutely batty.
I don't think it's a gray area at all. You are morally right to shoot police.
Well,
it's just not a good idea.
Okay, from a you're right, absolutely. Like, especially from a legal perspective, obviously, absolutely. From a societal, more normative perspective, I don't know. It just seems like something that we as a community aren't really struggling to talk about in a useful manner. I mean, because I run across.
Can you clarify that? Because I don't take my moral cues from wider society. If I did, I would be a sociopath praising the government.
No, absolutely. Neither do I. But we all, of course, live in a society, and as you'd pointed out, like if I were to.
Well, the society I live in swears off violence.
What's that?
The society that I live in is the Shire Society, and it has sworn off aggression.
Sure, and I don't mean like local. I mean just kind of like the larger perspective, the way the goofy news media will spin things. I guess what I mean is that, no, there's not a gray area morally. I agree with that. But it seems like societally, because of the different beliefs that we have and the different programming that we all have and all that kind of jazz, it doesn't seem like we'll ever really find common ground on that. And so that's kind of where I'm left in this gray area because, yeah, it's morally acceptable for me to do so. But I, too, don't want to end up in prison or
Well, that's not the reason I don't do it. I mean, the reason I don't do it is not because prison is a possibility, because odds are you're actually going to end up dead, not in prison. They're going to execute you as soon as they find you on the spot. They'll claim you had a gun or plant a gun on you or whatever they need to do to get rid of you. But to me, it's a question of I just don't want to be that person. I don't want to sort of lower myself to their level and use violence as my tool to change things, because I don't think that good things come from that. You know, in the moment,
there are better ways of destroying the state than violence.
In the moment, you might take down the existing power structure, but one's going to be built right back up if you're using violence as your tool. That's what I believe. And thank you, Jeff, for your call tonight. I would say the best thing you can do is get together with other people like here in New Hampshire. More coming up.
Scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the drain. Third vet says it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be. DINOVITE.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Video game players love customizing every aspect of their character. One game, Elder Scrolls Online, has set a new bar for character creation by letting players design every organ and cell in their avatar's body.
In Elder Scrolls Online, you get to play as whoever you want to play. You are in control of everything from your character's face to their hair to their arteries. We're not just going to give you some pre-made bones and ligaments. You get to create the musculoskeletal system that's right for you. You can even alter the DNA.
Are all of these changes just cosmetic?
No, not at all. They have a huge effect on game playing. If your character's body has any anatomical flaws, they could die immediately.
Beta testers say that designing every aspect of their character is a compelling experience.
I've been designing my orc's liver for 5 hours now. This is awesome.
Designing the hands is the hardest part. I keep having to look up how all the joints connect.
Players can also press the randomize button to get a completely random collection of body parts.
This is the Onion News Network.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Talk Live, inviting you, if you want to join us here, 603-283-6160 is the number. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Arya.
Don't forget to join us in real life coming up here in 6 months, thereabouts. We're going to be at Forkfest 2021, and it will be at the same place that every Forkfest has been, Rogers Campground. It's a beautiful location. This is the 5th annual Forkfest. It's a decentralized libertarian camping festival. And what does it mean to be decentralized?
It means that no one is in charge.
That's right. No board of directors, no organizers. There is the campground, so they have some rules.
Sure.
But it's a pretty loose list of rules.
Yeah, and they're really hands-off. I mean, as long as you don't throw trash down, they're going to leave you alone.
Yeah, don't do that. That would be awful.
Yeah, don't be that person.
But we had a great time this past year. It was a great Forkfest. Even though in most places you couldn't have a party, you couldn't have a get-together, we did it, and the state did nothing about it, and I expect we will have the same success coming up in 2021. So join us at Rogers Campground. It's definitely not too late. Get your campsite reserved, your RV site, or your motel room, whatever your preference. There are different options there at Rogers Campground. Such a beautiful location right there in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, surrounded by what may be as many as a couple hundred, maybe more. We don't know. We don't have any tickets. There's no tickets to sell, so we have no idea how many people come to this thing. You just have to kind of eyeball it to get an idea for how many people are there. And I would say we had 100 or two this year, something like that, maybe 200.
I think so.
I don't know.
I mean, plus toward the end, the normal people, the non-libertarians came in for the 4th of July thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically they were at Forkfest. They just didn't.
They didn't know it.
They didn't mean to be.
Yep.
They didn't seem to object, though.
No, some people thought it was pretty cool, actually, when they found out what was going on. So go to forkfest.party. You can learn more about the event there. It's a decentralized camping festival. That means you're in charge of what happens. You decide what to do. If you want to put a thing on, like a concert or a poker game or a play, I don't know, whatever you want to put on there, you can do it. You just got to get the word out to people and let them know you're there, let them know what you're doing, and people will likely show up. Forkfest.party. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you the dates. June 28th through July 4th. So mark your calendar now, and better yet, just contact Rogers Campground and reserve those dates. June 28th through July 4th. We'll look forward to seeing you there. And we continue with the news. $1 trillion market cap for cryptocurrencies. It's happened. It happened, I believe, earlier today. It's actually 1,020. It's just going up. It continues to go up. It is amazing what's happening with cryptocurrency. But some people are still saying, watch out, Arya. And you've got a story from where? CNBC, was it?
Give me a second. I've got to find it. I'm in so many Telegram groups. No, it's the Motley Fool.
Ah, okay.
At fool.com. Sean Williams writes it. Says, last year certainly qualifies as one of the most volatile in stock market history. Investors navigated their way through the widely followed S&P 500, losing over a third of its value in about a month. They also enjoyed a bounce-back rally for the ages, with the S&P 500 hitting new highs less than 5 months after finding a bottom on March 23rd.
This was after a bunch of government money printing.
Yes.
Right? And bailouts.
If there's one figure that stands out above all else, it's that 10% of the roughly 3,700 stocks with a market cap of at least $300 million, blah, blah, blah. Okay, he goes on with some really boring crap for a minute. There's no question that select equities and assets got ahead of themselves over the trailing 9 months since the stock market bottomed. However, one investment looks to be the most dangerous of all. That investment, which I strongly believe should be avoided at all costs in 2021, is cryptocurrency Bitcoin. This investment is nothing but trouble.
Boy, trouble for the people who bought it in the last decade, meaning every single one of them who has had the price go up. Every one of them.
Every single one, yes.
If you bought Bitcoin in the last ever...
and you kept it.
And you held on to it, you've seen it appreciate.
The largest digital token in the world by market cap hit an early morning high on January the 3rd. Oh, this is so quaint. Of $34,000.
Yeah, now it's 37.
For some context, Bitcoin has doubled since November 23rd, is up 200% since mid-October, and has risen 363% over the trailing 12-month period. Bitcoin's implied market cap of $628 billion now accounts for nearly 73% of all of the value. He really likes his numbers. Why is Bitcoin rallying? Search any number of social media platforms and you'll get no shortage of responses from enthusiasts. Bitcoin bulls often suggest that its competitive edge, community consensus, and game-changing potential to transform payment processing made this rally easy to predict. And indeed, I think every cryptocurrency advocate did predict that the value of Bitcoin was going to go up in 2020. And it did. Not to the extent that John McAfee was hoping for, though.
Not yet.
As for me, I don't believe...
McAfee's just a little late, I think, on his prediction.
I think so, too. And he's definitely going to be late on following through on his bet.
Well, he's in prison
he's never
right
going to
now.
do it. Well, even if he wasn't, he wouldn't do it. As for me, I don't believe Bitcoin is unique in any way, save for being one of the preferred investment mediums on cryptocurrency exchanges.
Okay, so when he says unique, is he comparing Bitcoin to other cryptocurrencies, or is he comparing Bitcoin to other investments?
It's unclear at this point. I think he's referring to just all other investments.
That's what I think he means as well, because he couldn't be knowledgeable enough to know how Bitcoin differs.
Right.
I mean, from the other cryptocurrencies.
It's not you should be investing in Bitcoin Cash or Monero instead article.
No, he's not saying that.
If investors want to buy a less popular token, they'll usually need to exchange their fiat currency to Bitcoin first before making their purchase. That's not entirely true. No.
Not with stablecoins like USDT and others on exchanges.
Good point.
You can buy every major exchange out there has a whole bunch of different stablecoin trading pairs.
And if you really need to buy an obscure kind of unknown cryptocurrency like, I don't know, Divi or Hush or something, reach out to the developers and you'll still have a way to buy it without buying it with Bitcoin. But below is a growing list of reasons I believe Bitcoin is the most dangerous investment of 2021. The concept of scarcity has been pulled out of thin air.
Hold on, is this reason number one?
This is.
How many reasons has he got?
There's only like
numbered
3.
List? Okay, three.
It's
three
not
reasons.
numbered, but it's only about 3.
Okay, so I definitely want to hear these reasons because we've heard it all.
Yeah,
so
if he actually has reasons, I would like to hear them as well.
Let's get into it.
Bitcoin bulls often point to its so-called hard cap of 21 million tokens as proof of its scarcity. Simple economics tells us that if demand for a good exceeds supply and supply is limited, the price of that good will rise.
Yes, and we've seen that happening.
That's exactly what's happening. You see, we're not talking about a physical good being in limited supply. Bitcoin's token cap is nothing more than an arbitrary figure plucked from thin air.
That's true.
Which is equally true of the cap on the USD and the national debt. But
there is no cap on that.
He doesn't seem to get into it. Yeah, they did officially remove it, didn't they?
I don't think there ever was one.
Well, there wasn't a real one because they would just raise
caps.
it.
Right. They've had spending caps as far as and they always raise the spending caps, but there's no there's no limit to
Physical
the dollar.
gold is considered scarce because we can't make any more gold than what can be found and mined on planet Earth, which is also not true. The article just came out today about an asteroid that had more gold than all of the gold on Earth. That's not the case with Bitcoin. Community consensus could lead to an increase in the token limit. The chance of this happening might be small, but it's not 0%. In fact, I think it's probably going to happen.
That's one of the best objections. Okay,
yeah.
I got to give this guy credit. I've thought this could happen in the future if these Bitcoin programmers, and we've seen that these Bitcoin.
Why would they want their mining rewards to just go away? I mean, the miners are the ones who determine the future of the blockchain. If they can continue getting those rewards, I fully expect a cap increase.
Now, to be fair, the mining rewards aren't going to go away until probably 100 years from now, given the way it's supposed to sort of taper off over time. But we'll talk more about the risks here of Bitcoin. And is 21 million the actual limit? More coming up.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she says, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she says it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to these Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loved it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite's a big part of Maxwell's diet. Dynavite for life.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you can bring up anything you want. Just dial in here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the dangerous investment, according to this author of Bitcoin. Now, look, any investment is risky. You know, if you're going to put your money at risk, you know there's a chance you could lose it, and you could lose it all.
And you could lose it all on Bitcoin. It could zero.
It could go down dramatically. Whether it'll go to zero seems unlikely to go to zero.
It's not impossible, though.
Right. It's within the realm of possibility. It's just sort of on the pretty difficult to ever happen.
I mean, it would take like a supernova or a worldwide electromagnetic pulse that just wiped out every single computer to make it go to zero.
Well, that would just mean you couldn't use it at the moment.
Well, it would. I presume such a thing would, wipe all of the hard drives that are storing this stuff. Oh, except a lot of them are probably going to be solid state. So yeah, wouldn't get them with.
As long as you can power the computers back up and get the internet back online, Bitcoin will still be there.
And you can restore the entire Bitcoin network from just one surviving node.
Now, you'd want to have more than one because that person could edit the blockchain and then.
True.
But yes.
But in theory, one person could rebuild the entire Bitcoin network.
Yeah, if the data's still out there, power comes back on, internet comes back, Bitcoin's back.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard to kill, which is one of the reasons why it's worth something, because exists. It's decentralized. It's in thousands of locations all around the planet. The blockchain, which is the decentralized ledger that is duplicated all around the planet. It's
You'd have to
impossible
kill the
stop it.
internet in order to kill Bitcoin.
Right, but then as soon as somebody puts an intranet on, or a local area network or whatever,
I mean, we've seen stories of people using ham radios to transmit Bitcoin from one person to another. It's extremely complicated, but in theory, I could do the same thing and just hand you my private keys, and then it's your Bitcoin.
So we're sharing a story from, where was it again?
The Motley Fool.
Motley Fool. And this guy is saying that, he's got some objections to Bitcoin, and one of them is that the programmers could, and this is a good objection, and so we need to address it. The objection of, what if the programmers raise the limit? Because right now the limit's at 21 million Bitcoin. There's about 18.5 million of them that have already been mined into existence. Every 10 minutes, there's another 6.25 that are mined into existence. In a few years, that number's going to cut in half to 3.125, and then a few years later, it'll cut in half again, and it'll cut in half. So over time, the amount of coins that are released every 10 minutes or so is halved and halved and halved. So it goes down and down and down and down. And so that's why I say it's going to take from here until 100 years from now until we finally get to the point where it runs out or whatever. It gets to its maximum.
I don't think they'll let
million.
it get to that point. Because,
so you think they're going to raise the number?
Yeah, because by then they're going to be getting more from transaction fees than they are from mining. And I just don't. They'll either try to move it to a proof of stake network, or they will just raise the cap so they can continue getting some sort of mining reward.
See, I don't even think it's going to last that long. I mean, if Bitcoin makes it another 100 years, I mean,
I see that happening in like 15 to 20 years. Once it gets to one Bitcoin as a reward, it just won't be profitable for them. They'll be like, hey, we have to do something to get more Bitcoin to make this worth it to us, or we're going to stop mining.
You think Bitcoin will still be on top in 15 years? I mean, that's like saying the Model T. That's like saying the Model T is going to still be the number one car, 3 generations later, or whatever. And I don't know.
I'm not predicting that's what's going to happen, but if that's how things play out, I fully expect the miners to demand the cap increase so that they can continue getting a mining reward.
Well, the miners still get fees, even if there's not a mining reward.
But that's negligible compared to the 6.25 Bitcoin they receive as the reward.
Yeah, there's no doubt about
that. So
that.
fees will have to either go up substantially, and they probably will, because miners were like, hey, no, we're just not processing your stuff because it's not worth it to us anymore. So you have to pay this third of a Bitcoin fee if you want us to process this transaction at all, or they'll just raise the cap.
Well, here's the thing. There's also this thing called a chain split that can happen if the programmers say we're going to double let's say they double the cap from 21 million to 42 million.
Oh, God, that would be devastating, though.
If they do something like that, then the people get to decide. The users, the miners, they get to decide whether they want to go with that version of Bitcoin or keep on the original path.
Sure, which is how we ended up with Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV and
a bunch of others.
Yeah.
So that's where we would see it would be an interesting question. Where would the marketplace want to go if indeed that question comes about? So far, that hasn't happened, but he is right. That is a legitimate concern.
There's also minimal utility. You'll also hear about Bitcoin being the future of global payments. Again, this isn't entirely accurate or possible. While the number of businesses accepting Bitcoin as payment is climbing, the actual percentage of businesses willing to accept Bitcoin is tiny. Only around 2,300 businesses accept Bitcoin as payment, but there's about 32.5 million businesses in the U.S. But even if you just count the businesses that have at least one employee, that's only 2,300 out of 7.7 million companies accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I'm surprised the number's as low as 2,300.
Well, I don't know where he gets that from, but that's not going to blow the doors off of anything, no doubt about it. But also, we're still early on in this.
We are very early on in this.
And his best point there is that it is not a good currency. It was designed that way.
That's because our wants for Bitcoin are at odds with what the miners want for Bitcoin. They want more profit, and to do that,
hold on. It's not the miners that are doing this. It's the programmers. The programmers are the ones screwing this up.
Yeah, but the miners are the ones who that they decide what they want in the program, even if they don't put it there themselves. If they're like, hey, we're going to make more money this way, let's do it.
Maybe. I mean, but if that were the case, then everyone would mine Bitcoin, and they don't.
Well, doesn't it take like multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into Bitcoin mining?
Probably not. I mean, you can get into it. You just won't, you won't do particularly well. It's a difficult thing to get into just because you have to buy equipment up front and it's expensive. But it's not. I don't think it's that expensive.
And the power draw of it is enormous.
The power is expensive. But anyway, go on.
Plus, and this is where he contradicts his first point, approximately 40% of Bitcoin tokens are held by investors and kept out of circulation, which creates more scarcity that he says doesn't exist. That leaves about 11.2 million Bitcoin for transactions. The value of these tokens is close to $380 million. In 2019, global gross domestic product totaled $142 trillion. Bitcoin has no path to game-changing utility.
Hold on. 142 trillion was the GDP of the U.S.?
Of the world.
Of the world, okay.
Yeah.
Well, crypto just passed $1 trillion, and it's only 10 years old.
Yeah, I agree. He's way off base here.
I mean, that's incredible. $1 trillion in value in 10 years.
That is incredible, yeah.
I mean, no company, very, very few companies on the planet could accomplish something like that. It's incredible. And by the way,
it adds a lot of perspective. Yeah, none of them have. There are no $1 trillion companies on the. There are.
In fact, that list that we were going through earlier, of the U.S. Remember, we can only look at publicly traded companies, so we can't look at. We don't know what the private ones are. We don't know what their balance sheets are, for instance. But the market cap of Apple is currently $2.2 trillion.
Really? Okay. I stand corrected.
Microsoft $1.6 trillion. Amazon $1.6 trillion. Alphabet, which is Google, $1.1 trillion.
Wow.
That's just the United States. That doesn't include,
There's some companies that need to be burned down.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with burning down private property, Arya. I mean, we talked about...
We talked about this before, and my position is they could not have gotten to the point of being trillionaires without utilizing the state in order to amass that level of wealth.
It's true, but, I mean, I might need to order something from Amazon.
I know. I still order Amazon. I'm not out there burning them down. I'm just saying...
My phone runs off of Google. What am I going to do?
There's a certain level where a company or a person just becomes like an almost literal dragon that needs to be slain, and their massive hoard of gold dispersed.
It won't matter.
No, it won't matter.
It won't matter because we can just ignore them or leave them be. They don't threaten us with violence, even though they do use the government to get their way. You can still choose to not use their product if you want to.
Google and Apple and Microsoft have never threatened me with violence. You are correct.
And the fact
that is a game changer.
Right. And the fact is, when that dude blew up the bomb on Christmas Day, he took down a bunch of people's cell phone service.
Yeah, he was wrong to do that.
I couldn't call a radio station, but it was AT&T. People were like, "Oh, to attack our co-host." Nobody and Chris were like, "Yeah, no problem."
So attack AT&T, but don't cause any collateral damage.
But that's the problem. Attacking AT&T took out people's cell phone service. I couldn't call a radio station because they had AT&T service. The next week, more coming up. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. Our number is 603-283-6160. I want to say thank you to Ron Pepper. He's a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier. That means that Ron is supporting what we do here on Free Talk Live. The AMP program allows you to back up this show and help us get on more radio stations around the country. And thank you, Ron, for being a gold level amplifier, which means he's contributing $10 per month to help us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. ampamp.freetalklive.com. You can sign up there. You can become an amplifier and get access to some cool perks, some benefits that you get, including the special supporters only chat room on our new Matrix chat server, which you can join. Just go to chat.lrn.fm to get the step-by-step instructions. Anyone can join that, the chat server, but you only get into the supporters room if you are a supporter through the AMP program. Also, our LRN patrons also qualify for that as well. So head over to amp.freetalklive.com and do what Ron did and get behind the show and help us get on more radio stations around the country. It's amp.freetalklive.com. We go back to your phone calls and thoughts. David in New Mexico, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, fun with the courtroom mysteries. So this COVID thing, having put court proceedings onto telephone, Zoom, usually non-video, audio only, but is rather, at least to me, interesting and educational. One thing that's fun that happened, and I've caught this happening several times, and it's tied to what I was calling about, is that usually at the end, when the last case has been dispensed of for a given session, then the banter begins between the judge and the judge's assistant and the DA and private attorneys that are in the courtroom, and they say some interesting things one time. For instance, the last time I was in the courtroom of Judge Christine Rodriguez in the Metro Court in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when she had concluded her business and I was still on the line, as soon as they went off the record, there was a female in the room, which I presume to be one of her assistants, but I'm not positive who it was, said to her, "Oh, and I have some good news." And the judge quickly shushed her because the judge knew that I was still on the line and made some sort of nonverbal gesture to her by what it sounded like. And then the line went dead. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, the judge apparently gestured to the phone line, and the assistant said, okay, yeah, okay. Well, should I email it to you instead?" And so whatever they were secretly talking about, that's how that went down. And that's more notable because that same judge, Christine Rodriguez in Albuquerque, she is one of I noted 3 judges yesterday, 2 female, 1 male, and both of the females had told me repeatedly to shut up, whereas the male listened to me, Victor Valdez. And interestingly, I have a hearing on Friday, which is why I'm pounding this now, because this is probably going to be the last hearing that I have unless they want to continue to fight. But they've surrendered 3 out of 4 so far. But the hearing that was coming on Friday was supposed to be in front of Christine Rodriguez, but the mystery recusal I referred to, she mysteriously recused herself from hearing my case, and I don't know why she recused herself, but I'll try to find out. But that was right.
Do they have to explain it when a judge, a robed person, recuses themselves? Are they obligated to explain the reasons?
I don't know, but I'm going to ask. That'll be when I do my routine thing of objecting moment 1 in a court hearing, which I'll do on Friday. I will ask why that Christine Rodriguez recused herself. So,
David, I've been curious about this since you mentioned it last night. You talk about the very first thing you do inside of a courtroom or inside one of these digital mockeries of courtrooms is you raise an objection. So that you start the call and you go, "I object."
Yeah, I say objection, and then I immediately begin explaining my objection because you need to do that, and then the judge either tells you to shut up or allows you to continue. Yeah.
Can you provide me with an example?
Like the last one, for instance, and there's infinite numbers, but the last times I've been objecting, I said objection, and then continuing, I would say my own attorney is denying me my right to assist in my own defense, and also is in violation of court rules and bar regulations requiring her to communicate with me, in a professional manner, and she's not doing that. So I am, in effect, unrepresented here, even though there's a court order saying that I am to be represented. So that was that objection.
Okay. So he's just got enough to complain about wherever it is. Whenever he shows up, there's always some new violation that he can object to.
Yeah, they constantly they can't follow their own rules.
No.
So
and they don't have to.
Yeah, right. But guaranteed, if you want
seriously.
to object about something,
rule number 1. I'm curious, David. Have you looked at the rules there in New Mexico? Because here in New Hampshire, District Court Rule number 1.1, I believe it is that the judge can waive the rules at any time in the so-called interests of justice. No joke. That's the actual rule.
Right. I've not seen that rule, but if we did have that rule here, I would object to that rule, and it would be at issue for appeal.
Yeah, okay. I mean that would be interesting. David, good luck out there. Thanks for the call. It's nice to hear from people that know a thing or two about court. They've got the experience, because court is like a mystery for a lot of people. It is intentionally
a bizarre.
Yeah, it's intentionally obtuse. It's intentionally difficult. It's confusing. They don't want you to know what they're doing. They're the professionals. They know what they're doing. They're there every day doing it. They've got plenty of practice. When you're on the court in a basketball game, if you don't have practice, you can't even dribble the ball. If you're in
comparison?
If you're in the court of government, same thing's true. You are just completely incapable of doing anything if you don't have experience.
Yeah, and they want it to be obtuse and confusing because that only serves them.
Correct.
It only helps them if they say that they can fine you for some arbitrary thing that they invented on the spot, and if people go along with it, just like cops make up fines on the spot and make up rules on the spot, and none of them are ever punished for it, and they're allowed to do it, and no one ever questions it or challenges it because it's a daunting task to even begin to know how to challenge one of these things.
Right. I mean, I have been to court a number of times. I'm somewhat familiar with some of the basics, but I've never actually sat down and read the rules. And again, what does it matter anyway? Because they can waive the rules at any time. So it doesn't matter. Thing is, they'll do anything they want to.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
And there's really no way to stop them, at least.
Except for numbers.
Not
Raw
in the long
numbers. Raw numbers. That's how you stop them. In fact, it turns everything around. It changes everything. So we talked about the parties and how, we had a party here, didn't have any issue with it on New Year's Eve compared to, say, New York City or Los Angeles, because we have greater numbers at the party than they had cops that could do anything about it. Same thing's true in a courtroom.
And we did this on a relatively busy highway.
Very busy. Yeah, there were definitely cops that were in the vicinity driving by multiple times. But in a courtroom, numbers change everything too. So normally, if you're in a court, everybody's quiet. They always whisper. You ever notice that?
Yeah, because they're always respectful, just like in church.
It's like church.
It's exactly like church.
Yeah, they've got pews. There's a man in a robe. There's people that'll do everything the man in the robe says. There's
symbolism everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Idols.
All of it. And so
even hymns, pledges, chants.
Yep. And so you go into court, but if you go in with 50 people,
sounds like a good time.
And then all of a sudden, the whispers become normal talking. You'll hear
because
laughter.
You're not part of the state religion. You don't respect their symbology.
Correct. People cracking jokes. People are laughing. And I don't mean in the courtroom, but I do mean in the courtroom before the judge comes in. Now, when the judge comes in, people don't, get as rambunctious because they know this man is a psychopath and he will order men with guns to throw you in a jail cell if you speak out of turn. So people tend to calm down a little bit. But that said, you can pull up a video archive of, I think one of the best ones has got to be Adamo from Cop Block, Adamo Freeman, who was facing some charges, misdemeanor, actually they were felony wiretapping charges. They were wrongfully charged as felonies, but that's what he was facing. And there were probably dozens of people, like maybe upwards of 50 people in that audience there. And when the bureaucrats were on the stand and telling lies and being stupid and being ridiculous, they were being laughed at by the audience.
Awesome.
And there were so many people laughing that the judge couldn't control it. The judge couldn't control the courtroom.
Was this a jury trial?
Yes.
Were even the jurors laughing?
I don't recall.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Because that would be a great way to win over a jury.
And you can't video record the jury during, even though you're recording the hearing, you can't record the jury.
That makes sense.
You can't get their reactions. But that's one example. And another one is here in Keene where the judge stopped saying, or the bailiff stopped saying, all rise, because there were enough people in the courtroom who were refusing to do it, and they didn't want the other people in the courtroom to see people refusing to do it, so they stopped. The judge just started walking into the court.
Drop the formality.
Yeah. So numbers change everything. We'll see you tomorrow night online in the meantime, freetalklive.com. That's why you should move to New Hampshire. We'll see you tomorrow.
You know how annoying it is when someone keeps stopping mid-sentence as though he or she were asking you a series of questions? Avoid doing that. It sounds unnervingly tentative, and it imposes upon the listener to help you complete the thought. And if you're a job seeker, this alone could be a deal killer. An effective communicator sounds more confident. Complete the thought. Avoid making the listener impatient. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook. Survivalspeech.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Let's get back to work. I'm Lisa Lacera. Those were the words of Vice President Mike Pence as he reconvened a joint session of Congress to proceed with certifying the election results after the Capitol building was stormed by violent protesters, forcing Pence and members of Congress to evacuate. Fox's Jill Nato has more live in D.C.
Lawmakers are back at work to certify the results of the Electoral College and validate Joe Biden as president. Protesters backing President Trump have left the Senate and House chambers a mess, broken glass and debris everywhere, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says
they tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for the protesters to be prosecuted for the damage done. One woman was shot and killed at the Capitol, and Congresswoman Liz Cheney tells Fox scores of police officers were hurt. Right now, federal agents and National Guard troops are joining Capitol Hill police, hoping to maintain order. Lisa?
Jill, former President Obama said what happened at the Capitol was incited by President Trump. In a statement he wrote in part, history will rightly remember today's violence incited by a sitting president who, he writes, has continued to baselessly lie about the outcome of a lawful election as a moment of great dishonor and shame for our nation. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called images of the violence disgraceful scenes. After the protest, the mayor of Washington, D.C. taking action.
Mayor Bowser ordering a curfew in the nation's capital from 6 p.m. Wednesday through 6 a.m. Thursday.
No one is allowed to be outside in public places